Hello, hello, friends! Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and Brill and I are here today to talk to you about a couple books that we think are absolutely fantastic, and we hope you will be excited about them too. So actually, for the next couple weeks in September, I wanted to try to do something new. So I wanted to talk about books that were then made into movies or TV shows. So then that would be really interesting because then you can read the book if you're interested and then watch the movie. Or maybe you've already watched this movie or TV show but didn't even know that it was based on a book, and now you can go back and read the book. In any case, I thought it would be really fun to see what kinds of books have been made into movies and TV shows and how they compare to each other. Because sometimes, well, to be honest, most of the time, the book is always better than the movie. That's not always the case, but in most cases it is. So the very first one I wanted to start off with is one that I'm really excited about because this is a book that I have loved for a really, really long time. It's absolutely fantastic. It's probably one of my favorite books for younger people that I've read in my whole life. It's just so fantastic. And that book is Holes by Louis Sachar. Holes. A book about holes, that doesn't sound very interesting, you might be thinking, but it is really interesting. It's so, so, so good. So here is a picture of the movie cover. This was made into a movie by Disney. And I do want to say that I actually think that the movie version is really, really fantastic. It's just as good as the book. So I would say it's a tie. I would say the book and the movie, they're both absolutely wonderful. The adaptation was really great. Super fantastic. So what is this about, you may ask? So Holes is the story of this young boy named Stanley Yelnats, whose family has a history of notoriously bad luck. So sometimes you're on your way to school, right? You trip over a rock and fall and you think, oh, what a day. This is bad luck today. No, you have no idea what bad luck is until you read this book, because Stanley's family, he is absolutely the one with bad luck. So what happens is, through a series of unfortunate events, basically, he gets sent to this correctional camp, right, out in the middle of nowhere, basically, Camp Green Lake. But there isn't even a lake there. It's basically this dry desert sort of area, and the warden makes all the boys at this camp dig holes every day that have to be certain depth and certain width, and they have to dig them every single day. Now, the warden says that the reason for this is because it builds character, but that's not true. There's a secret reason why, and Stanley has to get to the truth, why the warden is making them dig all these holes. So what I love so much about this book and movie is that it's this really interesting mystery, right? You're trying to get to the bottom of it. Is the warden really crooked? What is going on with this story? But it's also really funny. It's a hilarious, like, the humor in it is really good. But I also really liked the friendship aspect of it and the camaraderie, because as Stanley bonds with some of the boys in this camp, their friendships grow. And I just really loved the relationships that are in this book. So I highly, highly recommend this book. Like I said, the movie was by Disney. It's a fantastic movie. If anybody could have done this movie, it was Disney, and they did a fantastic job. And I absolutely loved it. It's a wonderful movie. The book is fantastic also. So if you've seen the movie, we have it at the library. If you haven't, you can check it out there. But also make sure you read the book, because the book is so good. Or check them both out at the same time, right? And read them both together. So the next book I want to talk to you about is one that I'm sure many of you have seen the movie, or at least one of the movies. But maybe you didn't know that this was actually a book. And this book is called Mary Poppins by P.L. Travers. Mary Poppins. Now, this is not only a book, it's a series of books. So the very first book is called Mary Poppins, and we see here the iconic umbrella that carries her away in the never-ending bag. We've got another one here called Mary Poppins in the Park, and Mary Poppins Opens the Door. There's a whole series of these books, and they're basically all these stories about Mary Poppins. Now, the one that the movie is based off of, or the movies, I should say, is this very first one, Mary Poppins. Now, I say movies because there are actually two movies of Mary Poppins. So there is probably the one that you know about, because it came out about a year or two ago, I think. And this is the cover for that, Mary Poppins Returns. And this is actually a sequel, if you didn't know, to the original Mary Poppins by Disney. That's Mary Poppins right there, with Julie Andrews, the iconic and legendary Julie Andrews. So there were two Mary Poppins movies, Mary Poppins and Mary Poppins Returns. And you don't really have to have seen the first one to watch and enjoy this one. I personally really like the first one better, but that's just because this is the one I saw when I was a young person, and it's the one that made the most impression on me. I did really like this. This is a fantastic movie. This is probably one of the cases I would say where I like the movie a little bit more than the book, and that might actually just be because when I was young, I watched the movie first. So sometimes I think whether you like a book or a movie more really depends on which one you encounter first. Not all the time, but sometimes. So Mary Poppins is the story of this nanny who is very magical, who visits different families and basically just takes care of these kids, and all these adventures and wondrous things happen. Like I said, you don't have to read the books in any kind of order. If you do want to start at the beginning, you want to pick up the first one that is just entitled Mary Poppins. And we have both of the films also at the library, so if you want to check them out and watch them along with the movie and just talk about what's different from the books from the movie. But like I said, both movies are really good, and the book series is really phenomenal as well. And you're in for a really big treat if you haven't read the books yet and you really enjoy the movies, because then the story, like I said, it's a series, so it keeps going on and on. So all the adventures that are crammed in the movies that just takes place in the one book, there's so many more books to enjoy with all kinds of more adventures about Mary Poppins. So highly, highly recommend those. Well, that's what we've got for you today. I hope that some of those sound really interesting and cool. If so, like I said, the movies and the books are available at the Farmington Community Library. So check them out. Check the book out. Check the movie out. Read it and then watch the movie. Talk about it. See what you like, which one you like better. It might be a different opinion than mine. But I hope that you enjoy them, and everybody have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye, friends.